at Easter is generally considered to be one of the primo slots of the year, and it would have normally been the Scope Classic, I think, this weekend.
Yeah, so
they had that last week.
Yeah, that's right. They ran the Scope Classic last week, and that allowed us to run this weekend, which was, a great compromise by everyone concerned.
Now, that is partly down to the fact that this is technically a club meeting, not a national points meeting.
That's correct.
So for club meetings, there is no entry fee for spectators, and therefore the track hire costs for...
We're ready to go. The lights are on. Who's going to get the good start? The entire front row got a very good start. Looks like Alistair Hugenbosom in P4 got a good run, but Tony Rees out in front and takes the whole shot into turn one.
Yeah, so as I was saying, this event technically as a club meeting, not a national points meeting. There's a considerable difference in the fees that Motorcycling Canterbury pay to the owners of the club, the Canterbury Car Club, and that distinction, not being a national points round, means that they are able to run as a club meeting. They can run, and the spectators, there is no entry fee. So the only income for the club itself is from the entries from the riders themselves. Now that makes a huge difference as to how much they pay the Canterbury Car Club to use the track for the weekend. So it works out well for everybody. The entry fees are a little bit lower than they are for national championship rounds, and the spectators are welcome for nothing. So a great way to spend your Easter weekend. But it is definitely Tony Rees out in front.
And I believe that is
no, it's not Dale Finch, Scott Moyer.
Alistair Hugenbosom in second and Scott Moyer in third. So that would put Dale Finch, I believe, in fourth position.
On the green bike. Yeah, that'd be right.
So we'll confirm the placings as they come across the start-finish line, but certainly it's Tony Rees in the front by a couple of bike lengths. I'd say maybe 0.5 of a second, followed by Alistair Hugenbosom, Scott Moyer, Dale Finch, James Hugenbosom and Aaron Scott.
Fastest lap, 1:36.9 by Alistair Hugenbosom in second spot.
So that's from a standing start, so that's
pretty good going. He's half a second behind Tony Rees, which is borne out on the track, but this is only going to improve. Those speeds are going to drop, or increase, and the times will drop. But there's not much between the first four. Any one of those could, if they can all keep in touch with each other, there's no surefire winner coming so far, but it's looking like Tony Rees and Alistair Hugenbosom. Alistair will be playing a waiting game. I would suggest he's going to wait a couple of laps. He's going to easy, Alistair. His tyres still won't be up to full temperature.
I would suggest that Alistair would take the opportunity to sit behind Tony for a little bit, so long as he's not being harassed too much, because it gives him the opportunity to watch Tony. Because let's not forget that yesterday Tony spent the whole race following Alistair. Tony knows Alistair's tricks around the track now, and this is the opportunity for Alistair to learn a bit about Tony, his lines, his braking markers and points, his turn-in, so that he can try and envisage where he can make a move. Unless Alistair feels that in making a pass he can get away, in which case he'll just go for it.
But he's also got Scott Moyer, his teammate, right behind him now. I don't know what the team advice might be, but it could be an advantage for Alistair to have Scott behind him to help keep Dale Finch back. So we've just got a new fastest lap by Dale Finch, 1:32.3. That's their first flying lap.
I could say for certain that there is no team orders between Scott Moyer and Alistair Hugenbosom. It is every rider for themselves out there. The only team order would be don't take your teammate out.
Yeah, and don't fall off. But 1 second, less than 1 second, covers the first four riders over the line. So we've got 8 laps to go. It's still a long way.
Absolutely, but it's a nice little freight train forming for first through to fourth. Alistair runs quite a tight line into the Christchurch Casino Carousel. Tony takes a wee bit wider entry. That gives Tony a bit of a wider exit and a bit more run up the straight. Alistair has to rely a bit more on throttle and drive up that little short straight. But it does
Alistair goes up the inside on the left. It's a curly place to overtake that, but he's itching.
It does set him up for a look into that right-hander where he did just have a look. So different lines slightly can give you
think that
different
Suzuki is
the Honda,
the Yamaha is quicker he's quicker pulling out of the slower corners than the Honda. I think he's just got a little bit more low down grunt. But Tony Rees still out in front. Alistair Hugenbusen.
He's having a
He's going to go for an overtake on the inside, and the whole shot going into the first corner, and he's made it stick.
That's a very nice move. Got a bit of a draft, bit of a toe down the straight, gives you a bit more speed. You've still got to be able to stop it at the end though. Now he's decided to put the hammer down and see if he can make a break. But Tony's very, very good into the hairpin and closes right up onto him again. And a good battle going on between Scott Moir and Dale Finch as well. Given that this is Dale's first real outing on the Kawasaki ZX-10R, it's a fantastic showing by him to come into the Superbike class and be running right at the front of the field.
And set fastest lap so far.
There we go, and the fastest lap so far. So up there against two former New Zealand champions and a multiple runner-up New Zealand champion on your first outing on a Superbike. Absolutely fantastic effort, Dale Finch, bike number 17, the green Kawasaki ZX-10R. So it looks like the race has settled down into a nice even pace, low to mid 132s. Tony Rees doing 132.521, Alistair Hugenbosen a 132.444. So less than 0.02 of a second between the two riders in terms of lap times. And it's showing on the track that neither rider is making a massive advantage. Alistair just pulling out a little bit of a gap now, maybe 0.3, 0.4 of a second as they cross the line. But Tony's definitely not going to give this up. Now he'll work really, really hard to try and get back onto the tail of Alistair Hugenbosen, bike number 43. The braking into the hairpin has a concertina effect. As they're under the brakes, the gap closes up, but as they get on the throttle, it opens out again. Into the tricky right-hander where a lot of riders have had problems today. We've seen several crashes in that area, and there is an oil down in that area, and there is a board marked in the pit lane so that all the riders are aware of it and to look out for it. But a good ride from Alistair Hugenbosen, pulling a little bit of a gap, 0.5 of a second now over Tony Rees in second place, with Scott Moir on bike number 5 in third on the Yamaha R1M, ahead of Dale Finch on the ZX-10R, James Hugenbosen in 5th place, and Warren Hudson in 6th place. Warren Hudson, his 6th place is enough to earn him 1st place in Superbike B, so well done Warren Hudson, ahead of Kevin Beaumont and Ryan Carlton in Superbike B.
Alistair Hugenbosen stretching his legs. He's just set fastest lap, 1 minute 30.8. He's now 1.1 seconds ahead of Tony Rees and 3 seconds ahead of Scotty Moir. So it's Alistair Hugenbosen gradually extending his lead, but he's still not far enough ahead for Tony to be discounted. One small mistake, one missed gear change, one late exit, and it could all go. But it is Alistair Hugenbosen out in front, and they're gradually spreading out. They're now some 12 seconds ahead of the rest of the pack. So,
and it's Alistair that's putting the move on. He's the one that's pushing the pace. Tony's trying to respond. He's come back with a 131.4 against Alistair's 130.862. But he needs to push on if he's going to try and keep touch. Alistair's decided that this is the time in the race where he believes he's at his best and can make the best advantage, so he's trying to do everything he can to put as big a gap on, hopefully demoralise Tony to the point where he falls back into the clutches of Scott Moir and Dale Finch, and it becomes a dice for 2nd, 3rd and 4th rather than a dice for 1st to 4th. So Alistair got a very good run down the straight there. 2.1 seconds the gap now to second place, so he's definitely broken the toe. And that only leaves a 1 second gap from Tony Rees to Scott Moir. So Scott will be working very, very hard now to try and concentrate on catching Tony rather than concentrating on defending from Dale Finch.
So this is, we're now 4 laps to go. They've done 6 laps. This is where physical fitness really starts to come on stream. These are big, heavy bikes. They take a lot of energy to throw them around, especially changing direction as quickly as they have to. That's a physically demanding job. You're going to get tired arms, tired chest, tired wrists. And as you get tired, you get slower, no question about it. So physical fitness is absolutely paramount. Now, Alistair Hugenbosom never seems to have a problem with that, but he's half the age of Tony Rees, so let's see what happens. But at the moment, it's looking very convincing for Alistair Hugenbosom. He's currently nearly 3 seconds ahead of Tony.
And that gap's definitely shrunk from Tony Rees to Scott Moir in third place. Was over a second at the start of this lap. It'll be interesting to see what it is once they come through the main straight this time. It looks to me like Scott Moir and Dale Finch are closing on Tony Rees at this stage of the race. So there's Alistair Hugenbosom crossing the line. And the gap has come down between second and third. We're now less than 0.8 of a second between the two.
And Alistair's just set fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 30.8.
So Alistair has decided that he can break away and keep that momentum going. So good on him for putting his good laps together, stringing nice, tidy work. Tony Rees just managing to pull a tiny little bit of a buffer back again against Scott Moir. It looks like Tony's bike works very, very well through the bottom end of the circuit, down off turn 1 and through Pothole, which is a very, very fast corner that drops away from underneath you as you're entering. Quite nerve-wracking on a Superbike, especially as they start wheel standing on the exit in third and fourth gear. So here we have Alistair Hugenbosom coming out of the Christchurch Casino Carousel, followed by Tony Rees and Scott Moir and Dale Finch. And once again, Scott Moir closing up the distance. And he's right there with Tony now. He's right on his tail. Tony gets a bit better drive out of the dipper, pulls that gap back a little bit. I would hazard to say we're looking at a gap of about 0.2 of a second now between the two of them. Alistair Hugenbosom with a good run across the line in first place, maintaining his good 3 second or so lead. And 0.4 of a second now the difference between Tony Rees and Scott Moir. Nearly 4 seconds lead between Alistair Hugenbosom and Tony Rees.
Alistair running about half a second quicker than Tony, so he's still pulling away, increasing his lead, which is beginning to look dominant. It's too hard to say that. You shouldn't say that as a commentator. You should never say it's a sure thing, but
Alistair's lap times
his lap times are very consistent. 1:31. He's now down to 1:30.8.
Yeah, so running in the mid 1:31s, 1:31.4.
What's the lap record for Superbikes?
Around here, I'm going to get it wrong, but I'm going to say it's somewhere in the mid to high 28s. It might be the very low 29s,
yeah,
but it's somewhere in that region. I've got to say today the track conditions aren't conducive to that sort of lap time.
No, that would have been set during summer when the track was that much hotter and the tyres are that much stickier. But
absolutely, and after a couple of days of good running with just pure motorcycle rubber put down on the track, which makes a huge difference. As you're laying down the fresh rubber, it changes the grip level. And here's Wendy with the white flag out, ladies and gentlemen, showing the white flag for our race leader. Bike number 43, Alistair Hugenbosom, coming on to the straight now on the Yamaha R1M, followed by bike number 11, Tony Rees, on the CBR 1000, and Scott Moir on the R1M, closely followed by Dale Finch. And it looks like Tony Rees has responded to the challenge from Scott Moir and pulled himself out a bit more of a gap.
So 4.5 seconds between Alistair and second place man Tony Rees, and then going back another 2 seconds to Scotty Moir. So a dominant performance from Alistair Hugenbosom.
There's James Hugenbosom just crossing the line as well. I believe it's been quite some time since James has pedalled a superbike with any degree of ferocity, so it's good to see him back out here having another crack at it. And coming around the sweeper onto the straight is the leader of the Superbike B class, Warren Hudson, on the Yamaha R1. Followed by Dave Sharp on the ZX10 Kawasaki. And here comes Kevin Beaumont in position 2, P2 in the Superbike B class. Now looking back for the leaders. Here they are coming through the dipper. And here's Alistair Hugenbosom making his way into the sweeper, the Avon City Ford sweeper, for the final time of this New Zealand Grand Prix sponsored by Kawasaki New Zealand. And here's your race winner, ladies and gentlemen, bike number 43, Alistair Hugenbosom, followed home by Tony Rees, bike number 11, and Scott Moyer, bike number 5 in third place. Dale Finch, a fantastic ride on the Kawasaki ZX10R. First serious outing for Dale Finch, and a 4th place in a New Zealand Grand Prix title race is nothing to be sniffed at. So overall a fantastic race. Alistair Hugenbosom basically led from start to finish. A little bit of a challenge on the first lap from Tony Rees, but once Alistair made his way past, he found the going much to his liking and pulled out a 3.6 second gap over the line. So fantastic riding by Alistair Hugenbosom on the Yamaha R1M.